Wow, what a great intro. Thank you very much, sir. Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Jonno Southam, and as I've already said, I lead our venture capital relationships in the UK and Ireland for AWS. Now, for over 8 years, I've been working with early and later stage startups, and one thing I've learned more than anything else over that time is that their needs are very different at each stage of their journey. So today I'm going to talk about the importance of building partnerships from an early point of the journey and develop on those through to the later stages of your and beyond. So I'm delighted to be joined, as we've said, by one of our most successful partners, Ably, where Matthew O'Riordan will talk through their partnership strategy from the early stages. And there's a great example of how this has benefited them. Now, building a SaaS business is very hard, and just because you've the best product doesn't mean you'll be successful. Just look at the classic example of VHS versus Betamax. Some of you this one may be well before your time, but back in the late 70s, Betamax was a videotape format created by Sony that enabled people to record their favorite TV programs, which, believe it or not, was groundbreaking at the time and launched shortly before the most popular VHS format. Betamax was far more superior in terms of quality and the features that it had, but it never took off because the lesson they learned was that they didn't partner with enough hardware companies or exploit the fast-growing video rental market. Now, over the years, we've seen a few trends in the companies that we've worked with, and I'd like to share at least 3 of those themes with you here today. Firstly, if you have been lucky enough to get product market fit and subsequent Series A round, founders typically hire a sales leader as their first commercial hire. Now, founders are rarely experienced in sales, as we know, so this is usually the top of the list with regard to hiring priority. But you really need do you have versus what skills do we really need right now? It's been thought a good idea in the past to hire someone with a good contact book who can really get you some great logos quickly, but actually the kind of person that you really likely to need to hire as your first VP of sales needs to be prepared to get their hands dirty, to grow professionally with the business. Skills such as building a story, the sales process, the first call deck, be prepared to pick up the phone, really to care about the product and its future development, and that take that feedback they get from customers to help the CTO build and manage the roadmap. Also, really important is they need to have the right domain expertise. They need to be able to talk your language, understand the customer problem, and have interesting examples in the past of where they've helped customers in a similar or same space. Remember, the sales experience is not equal to sales management experience. You need to think ahead and find someone who is an ideal player, player coach, who has the capability to develop personally and professionally to be the leader of your commercial team at the later scale-up and growth stages. And what I found to be the most important thing here when I've spoke to founders is the cultural fit. You know, all of your first employees need to buy into your guiding principles and your mission. We talk a lot about this at Amazon. And if you don't have those built yet, then start on that process without delay, really. At Amazon, we hire, we promote, we performance manage, and we use our leadership principles as a day-to-day shared vocabulary to describe success and failure. That's how important they are to us here at Amazon. Hiring the right sales leader can be a lengthy process, so it's a good idea to start even at the pre-product market fit stage. Second, we see B2B startups experiment with sales models to get to know their customers as quickly as they possibly can. And if you've discovered that your customers and product require a low-touch sales process, focus in on high volume and low cost of sales. This is what Matthew's going to talk a lot more about later. Zero in on a repeatable, scalable, low-touch model for that. But a great example of this, though, is a company we had on stage SaaStock last year, which is growth stage company Matillion, who have raised $60 million, and they partnered with AWS's software catalog, the AWS Marketplace, by making their technology available for discovery, for procurement and deployment, and that allowed them to scale up at a global scale really early on in their scale-up phase. If you focus on lower volume and higher value there, we've seen that experimenting with sales process that satisfies dealing with like many different stakeholders to drive success, a much, much longer process to define and scale. Now, many companies will either hit natural market size or market share limit to their core product or service. So few companies can grow truly global without investing in new offerings to support additional needs in adjacent markets or vertical segments. So a great example of this, is a success story of this, is Amazon, who started out as a bookstore by building a platform that could quickly move into different segments. So we moved into selling CDs and DVDs and allowed it to scale into millions of product SKUs. But if you recall, Amazon actually branched out and competed with eBay back in the day and launched an auction site, but that failed dramatically. But it was the first time that we allowed third-party sellers on our site, and as of last year, this business is now actually bigger than Amazon's direct selling business. So evolving your technology into a platform via APIs and then subsequently creating a partner ecosystem can really drive additional revenue streams. An Amazon seller business, the AWS Marketplace, and our good friend who's also exhibiting here, Paddle, are great examples of platforms that allow those technologies to go global. This is an example of Amazon's flywheel, which demonstrates our growth model, that shows by increasing selection on our website and always lowering prices, and that increases customer experience and drives traffic and growth. I don't think it'd be a bad idea for you to really think about how you could build something like this yourself. We certainly used it in lots of different areas in the business in order to demonstrate how we can scale and operate in a self-service way. As a B2B startup, it's rare to grow at the velocity without the help and executing a go-to-market strategy with partners. It's usually a huge differentiator. So at the startup phase, this is all about finding a product and a business model that appeals to a broad customer set. So one tool to help with the early stage is to leverage technology credit programs, such as the AWS Activate Program, to fund early experimentation that also helps accelerate developer cycles to get to product market fit much quicker. And at this stage, though, you should choose a technology provider with a strong track record of success, which had a broad set of cloud-leading services in order to minimize your development costs and overall product development period during this time. And the scale-up phase focused on challenges to scale the business and the customer base. So by building and evolving sales processes that really leverage modern, scalable software procurement and fulfillment mechanisms that optimize and importantly reduce sales cycles. Also an important thing Matthew will talk about later. By using things like marketplaces, the modern way to sell, you can deliver scale across global markets and be sure to evolve go-to-market sales process much more quicker than trying to do it yourself. Finally, what we've learned is scale-ups and growth companies benefit from hiring a dedicated partnerships leader to take ownership and build and drive this playbook. Without this hire, it's hard to get the focus and build and execute a real, true go-to-market partner strategy that can deliver really your impactful results that you really, really want to achieve. And now, I'm delighted to be joined on stage by one of AWS's many success stories. Here to talk about AWS Partnerships journey, leveraging the marketplace and AWS Activate is founder and CEO of Ably, Matthew O'Riordan.
Thanks, Jonno.
To you.
Thank you. Thanks for the intro. So yes, I'm Matthew O'Riordan. As John has mentioned, I'm the CEO. I'm the co-founder of Ably. In this session, I really want to sort of tell you about how Ably's developed a global expansion strategy with AWS as a partner, and I hope that some of what we've learned along the way you can apply to your own partner strategies. Before we dive in, I just want to sort of give you the context of what Ably does and how we work with AWS. So Ably is a real-time communication platform. We have a suite of APIs that developers use to power live digital experiences we rely on every day. We offer this as a platform as a service business, so effectively a SaaS business model, which of course is apt given this is SaaS stock. As Ably is an API business, we're very much developer first in our approach to the market. And what that means is we help businesses globally across a wide range of industries, For examples, we have, we're quite strong in the edtech space. We work with companies like Lightspeed Systems, where they use us to enable real-time management of 15 million student devices. We work in the CRM, sort of SaaS space, with companies like HubSpot. We enable sort of real-time data synchronization and notifications for more than 80,000 of their customers. And we're increasingly kind of working in the mobility space and working with organizations like Chicago Metro Rail, where we deliver transit updates to about 3 million commuters each day. We've reached internet scale now on our platform, and we're powering these digital experiences for around 75 million people, and we're delivering hundreds of billion messages each month. We've managed to achieve the scale, though, because of the customers who build on Ably, who are typically high-growth tech businesses or global companies that need this communication layer at scale. And so ultimately, the proposition we offer is that we're offloading this complex infrastructure and real-time engineering so that companies can focus on shipping products. Hopefully that's enough about Ably. Hopefully it gives you a sense of what we do as a business. I think the first thing you need to ask yourself with a global expansion strategy is, do you actually solve a global problem? I highly recommend that you question, do you have pull? Are you seeing customers, globally already asking for your product? It's a good signal that that you have a product that is ready for a global audience. Are you confident that you've got a repeatable business model? It's having a global expansion model is going to put strain on your engineering teams and product teams, and you want to make sure that that's not going to slow you down as you go to market. And do you have a model where you're going to need people, feet on the ground? And obviously, this is, a lot of what we've done with AWS is we've avoided having feet on the ground globally to sell the product. Actually, just Index Ventures in the last few weeks published an ebook on US expansion. It dives into a lot of these questions in a lot of detail. I'd highly recommend you have a read it. I'll provide a link. And I actually just noticed the other day, Jonno was a contributor to it. So at Ably, we've been, the first thing started the business is we thought about, the focus on building a global ready business from day one. And so we focused on a global problem. And we knew that, the customer is expecting real-time digital experiences, and which would put demand on engineers everywhere to solve these problems. And this trend is not changing. I mean, there's IDC reports. You can see that by 2023, the real-time data market consumption is going to be as big as the entire data market back in 2019. So, where we focused our attention was on real-time data synchronization. We knew that data synchronization was hard. We knew that doing it in real time is even harder. And we knew that kind of doing this across platforms over unreliable networks is a significant undertaking for engineers. So our focus was, to offload complex infrastructure problems for global audiences, developers everywhere, so they can just focus on building their products. The next thing is, just in terms of the entire business itself, we designed it to be a scalable, low-touch business. Whilst our focus is on the enterprise market, the enterprise top-down model in the developer space isn't the same as it used to be. It isn't working the same way. So we built a freemium product with an onboarding experience that was scalable, delightful, and in turn, what we found is that creative developers that are champions in the organizations we're selling to. We ensured also that it's a key signal that you want to see that as your revenue grows, you don't need a commensurate around headcount. And if you're starting to see that, if you're adding people in line with revenue growth, you're going to have to question whether you're ready to expand globally, because you're going to struggle to keep up. We also consciously decided that, as a business, we chose an inbound business model. And that's not to say a sales-led model isn't a good model. I mean, we've all seen rocket ships. We've seen amazing businesses grow with very strong sales teams. However, in the context of global expansion, sales-led wins can actually paper over some of the shortfalls in your product and will slow you down when you start expanding. So what we found is a successful inbound model for us gave us two things. It gave us indicators that we had product market fit in a global space. And it also enabled us to actually pull global customers and really prove that we could sell globally. And one of the things we consciously decided was the way we engage with our customers was going to be primarily online and over video conferencing. And by doing this, what we did is we knew that as we go into a global territory, we didn't have to make operational changes to how we run our business. Fine. So assuming you've kind of asked these questions, you've got a business model that you think is ready to go global, your next challenge is going to be velocity. And I don't think velocity is really relevant necessarily to global expansion, but it's very relevant to every SaaS business. I mean, velocity to stay ahead of your competitors, velocity to open into these new markets, velocity in your deals and your sales cycles is incredibly important for SaaS businesses, and your velocity to keep innovating. And this all really matters because it's no surprise. I mean, we all see that investors are placing huge valuations on businesses that continue to demonstrate that they have underlying velocity in their business. And really what that means is that you have to worry about speed and you work to address the limited resources you'll have as a startup business. So how does this relate to why I'm here with Jonno and AWS? Well, choosing the right partner will absolutely fuel your velocity. We chose AWS because we believe that, whilst we had the foundations in place for a scalable business, we still needed a partner to support us and drive our velocity. And in the early days, we chose AWS really from a technical standpoint, but our technical choice set us up for a commercial partnership. So just let me quickly tell you about the timeline of Ably and how we worked with AWS. We got our first seed round, VC investment back in 2017. We joined the AWS Activate Program, and our VC forward partners introduced us to this, and it made sense for us because we were building on AWS anyway. But it was only really 2 years later that we then built AWS as a go-to-market partner. And this is what I'll talk you through now. We engaged in 3 key ways as a partner. First thing is we joined the AWS Activate Program, as I mentioned. The thing that was really interesting for us is that obviously what's happening with the AWS Activate Program is AWS are betting on you as a business that's going to scale. But you shouldn't be doing this as just for the credits, because this is a long-term investment, your technology partner who you go with. And so we decided with AWS because it was the right business for us. And a story I kind of wanted to tell you is we did consider a multi-cloud strategy. We spent 3 months with 2 engineers working on this. And what we unearthed after this time was that we're going to have to spend another 12 months of distraction. But really the biggest problem was that having this multi-cloud strategy would slow us down moving forwards because we'd have to do testing across multiple platforms. So in the instance of kind of what we were just talking about, velocity, keeping that velocity up, avoid multi-cloud if you can. I mean, I'm not saying that because we're here with AWS. I'm saying it because choosing a single vendor is going to help with your velocity. The next thing we did was go and place ourselves in the AWS Marketplace. We got quite a lot of benefits from the marketplace that were kind of things that we didn't expect. It helped us kind of refine our messaging and helped us have a more global solution selling approach. AWS did also things like a well-architected review of our platform, which actually unearthed a few shortcomings in parts of our platform. Although that we're a very engineering-heavy company, we got these sort of side effect benefits. The thing I'd like to just point out with Marketplace is really about building. It's about putting the building blocks in place for this relationship. And it won't immediately be a sales channel. It's really more of a procurement channel and the first steps in terms of building that partnership with AWS. One of the things we did do is we have done something called AWS Service Ready, which means even in the marketplace, it's easier to buy our product because we're very closely coupled with AWS Lambda, and it's easy to see how we have a serverless messaging solution with a serverless offering from AWS. But I think the thing that really surprised us most about AWS Marketplace was the fact that we found that after once engaging with customers, that we were able to reduce the very large enterprise deal sales cycles in some instances up to 3 months. I remember sitting in a meeting with a bunch of engineers asking them what was the sort of thing that was going to slow the deal down, and it wasn't the engineering time. It was sort of a week or 2 to integrate our product. And it was absolutely about getting budget, getting legal approval, due diligence in our platform. When I mentioned that they could buy through AWS Marketplace, the whole conversation changed. And suddenly they said, well, I've got a budget to work with. They didn't need to get any approval to spend this money. And even the whole legal process was simplified quite significantly. The partner network for us really is about having, we're talking about, again, the constraints that we have in terms of resources. It's about giving us a sort of global field sales team. And in my previous business at eConsultancy, I recall when we it was a big milestone to open our office in New York. And we really felt like we were going to conquer the US. And about a year in, I remember sitting there and thinking, in fact, all we've done is conquered one state. And the US is a big place. And of course, going global is even bigger. And we didn't want to repeat that with Ably. And going, working with the AWS Partner Network has allowed us to kind of effectively have field reps, all over the world, whilst we operate primarily out of the UK. And just something else we kind of learned is, we've had quite a lot of traction at the moment because of COVID and the EdTech space, and we've brought a lot of these EdTech deals to AWS, kind of kept them in the loop. And as a result, that's actually brought us more leads from AWS than we've brought to AWS. So kind of just keeping them in the loop, working with them as a true partner has been hugely beneficial for us. So, I think those are the programs that we used with AWS. But I think what I really want to just touch on, what are the catalysts for a really successful partnership? And so the first thing is, of course, is just the obvious thing of choose the right partner. We didn't choose AWS as a partner because of an existing relationship we had. It wasn't because our engineering team was sort of AWS fanboys. We chose AWS really for one reason. We chose them because they were the market leader, and we were seeing that they were actively building an ecosystem around them. And their combined infrastructure offering, their global go-to-market capability, they brought us support. They partnership strategy made an obvious choice for us. I think the other thing to kind of bear in mind is don't fall into the trap of thinking lots of partners will bring you more. Again, we've tried this in the past, it didn't work. Kind of building on the first point, choose the right partner, and then it's very hard work already to build a successful partnership strategy. So you need to really commit a lot of time and effort to making your partnerships work. And I truly believe you're going to get a lot more from one good partnership than a number of average partnerships. So be bold, choose the right partner, and go all in. Now, in terms of sort of way we engage with partners is you really need to invest a lot of time in getting them to understand how they position your product in front of their customers. And so, the first thing you need to do is you need to help, you need to sell for them, so kind of be very engaged in the process. They need to, then you work with selling with them, and then finally, at some point, they can sell for you. The other thing you need to bear in mind is that, ultimately, your partners' sales teams are incentivized by commissions. You get a lot of kudos and a lot of sort of interest from them if you can bring them deals and help them with their quotas. So finally, just a few other tips. Timing is really important. You need to have sufficient traction. So when you're ready starting to work with the partnerships, partnerships is a very big investment. So you need to get, as Jonno said earlier, you're going to need to get someone to lead your partnerships initiatives. And there's going to be lots of hoops to jump through and process to follow. I just recommend deal with it because it's a big investment, but it's a big reward. And just be very vocal about the customer successes, because it's your job to kind of make sure that your partners remember you and keep you top of the pile. So look, in summary, our partnership with AWS has been hugely successful for us. And I hope some of what I've said today will help you with your global go-to-market expansion. I wish you all the best. If you have any questions about this talk or interested in how we can help scale real-time functionality into your products, reach out to me on Twitter or join me afterwards in the booth. I'll hand over back to Jonno. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Brilliant. Thank you very much for the insights onto why it's important to build a partnership strategy early on. We've run out of time, so I just wanted to say thank you for everyone for attending today. We've got some talks on the booth this afternoon, including Ably are going to join us, which is great, and we're going to talk a little bit about the marketplace and our APM programs as well. So please come into our booth this afternoon in the expo, and hopefully we'll be able to answer all your questions. Thank you very much for listening, and have a great SaaS talk. Thank you.
Okay, guys, thank you very much, Jonno Southam, Matthew O'Riordan. We're running a tiny bit over, so I won't do a Q&A, but they can get you in the booth. So thanks a million for a brilliant talk, gentlemen.
Thank you.